Good evening. Welcome to our Tara group. Marcelo, I have a friend here.
Sure.
That needs to be escorted outside. There he is. Come here. Oh. I guess leva e dá uma boa chacoalhada.
É uma aranha?
Tem uma aranhazinha. So, welcome again. We are contemplating Rinpoche's book, Change of Heart, and we are beginning the 6th chapter on loving kindness and rejoicing. We're going through the 4 immeasurable qualities of equanimity, love, compassion, and now rejoicing. Ideally, we would use our short time in the human realm to bring joy and happiness to each other's lives. This is love, the aspiration that others find happiness. The mere assertion that we should love each other has little value. We need to exemplify loving kindness, recognizing that others need and want happiness just as we do. We concentrate increasingly on their wishes rather than our own. Expressing our love to us in community and set an example for the next generation. We can practice selflessness very directly by bringing an altruistic motivation to all of our relationships. Entering into a relationship in the hope that the other person will make us happy will produce a very different result than approaching it with a sincere desire to work for the other's well-being. Depending on someone else for contentment makes it hard for a relationship to endure. Instead of expecting others to meet our needs, we should ask ourselves how we can best fulfill theirs. That simple shift in focus amounts to great practice. So I had a conversation with a young woman these days, and she's participating in therapy. And she was talking to her therapist about Buddhist practice and the Buddhist idea of putting other people's happiness and other beings' happiness above our own. And this is a very, very long debate between psychology and Buddhism. And most psychologists don't go along with that idea in Buddhism of putting others' happiness in front of our own. And in this case, her psychologist said, you already give too much of yourself. You need to protect yourself. You need to practice self-preservation. So she was very, very confused. How do I reconcile that with my Buddhist practice? Well, we are all practitioners. That means we're practicing to get somewhere. That somewhere is the state of selflessness. But that's a long process to get there. And in the meantime, we are limited by our capacity to give of ourselves and to help others. We can look at great realized beings like Chagdud Rinpoche, or 2 weeks ago we had the honor to be in the presence of Shechen Rabjan Rinpoche, or the great teachers in our lineage, and we can see an example of somebody who really has purified their selfishness and self-interest, and really only is concerned with helping others. I think a lot of people had an amazing experience with Shechen Rabjan Rinpoche of just unbelievable, incredible, unconditional love. And people were very moved by that and inspired by that. Well, that comes from lifetimes and years and decades of training in selflessness, in putting others above ourselves. And what Rinpoche defines here as love, which means working for the happiness of others. So when we look at, for example, our family or our community, we can see people that inspire us, and we can see people that challenge us. So for example, in our family, we probably really admire the grandmother who lost her husband when she was a young mother of 2 or 3 or 5 children, and worked 2 or 3 jobs, slept only a few hours every night, sometimes sacrificed her own meals so that her children could eat. We feel so amazed and inspired by that. But on the other hand, we see people that only think of themselves, they're only worried about their own self-interests, they cause a lot of problems, they sometimes cheat, sometimes lie in order to get what they want. And those people challenge us. We feel angry sometimes, or we feel deceived or disappointed. So just in our own sphere of our small families, we can see the power of selflessness and the power of selfishness. Which is better for the family unit? Which do we admire? Which inspires us? Which is healthy? So just observing our own day-to-day lives, we can come to the conclusion very quickly that truly selflessness, putting others above ourselves, is one of the most noble qualities that a human being can aspire towards. And at the same time, selfishness, if we look at the root cause of almost every problem in the world, war, crime, pyramid schemes, destroying the environment, almost all of it comes from a selfish place. We all feel like greed is a bad thing, trickery, lying. But if we look behind those things, what's the motivation? It's almost always selfishness. So I remember one time somebody asked Rinpoche, well, Rinpoche, my psychologist said that I should be more selfish. And Rinpoche said, okay, but what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be an old psychologist, or do you want to be an enlightened being? That's the difference. But having said that, it doesn't mean we have to be there tomorrow. We are who we are. We've spent a long time polishing and fortifying this ego. And it takes time to gently and slowly and naturally wash it away. That's what the spiritual path does. We don't have to do it in a painful way. It should unfold naturally and lovingly and beautifully, to the point that it feels good to put others above ourselves, until we lose ourselves in service to others. Naturally, biologically. We don't have to force it. Organically. If we keep doing the practice and we keep doing the contemplations, naturally this will happen. It takes time. So in the meantime, if we have a selfish thought here and there, if we take the biggest piece of pie, if we take the biggest piece of cake, if we cut in front of somebody else in the airport, at least we're aware of it. But we should strive to slowly weed out those selfish tendencies, understanding that what's best for our society, what's best for our family, what's best for the environment, is really to try to learn to care and make other people's happiness very important to us.